Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Backyard Tabletop.
Hello. That's where you are. In case you got lost.
And
My name is
that's
Kurtis, and I'm
over
I'm the other one. Sorry, I was about to take a drink. I don't know why. I don't know what possessed me to try and take a drink right as you were introducing.
there. We're going to wait for Kurtis to take a drink, okay? Just give him a moment. Just like Baby Yoda with the bowl of soup.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Kurtis.
Welcome again to the Backyard Tabletop. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back and seeing what us goobers are going to be talking about this week, this bi-week. Bi-week? Yes. And if you're new, welcome to the backyard. Come on in. We don't really have a fireplace going today. Maybe that'll be at some point. But fire restrictions are pretty low right now. But today we're just gonna just relax, have a drink, and just talk about some D&D.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, last episode I kind of took the lead on a lot of what we were talking about. So this time we are going to get to Kurtis. But I just thought I'm going to really just throw a loop in for Kurtis because I haven't told him this. I just love surprising him with stuff like this.
I love everybody. Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
Everybody who knows me knows I love surprises.
You love surprises. Yes, indeed. He does it. So, the reason why I thought of this was because this was actually months ago when I was making Dara. For the first time, we were importing him into Roll20, and I had already made him on DnD Beyond. And as you guys know, it's probably a very common thing to just make characters in D&D Beyond. I currently have like 37 in there. Kurtis blows me way out of the water. How many characters do you have on D&D Beyond, Kurtis, that you've created and still have?
Give me...
take your time.
A couple minutes. I actually have a tab open.
I'm just really curious because I feel like this is indeed a part, just something you do in your off time. You know, you're bored, you're just sitting there. I typically will just start making a character just for fun.
Actually, not as bad as I thought. I'm not over 100 yet. I'm at 93.
93, that's not bad. That's not bad.
And to be fair, probably 8 or so of those are my wife Joelle's.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys share. That's budget friendly. I appreciate that. Yeah. The fifth character that you have on there, you should just tell us about that character that you made. What's the point of that fifth character on your list?
The fifth one down, or the fifth one I ever made?
Fifth one you ever made.
Okay. Well, let me go from oldest to newest. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the fifth one down is Krivkool. You remember Krivkool?
Krivkool?
Krivkool. He was my level 5 Dragonborn. He was a paladin. He's not in any campaigns. I don't remember what I know I played him in one of your games. He still has the Liam O'Brien for president.
Oh gosh, that's amazing, man. This must have been a while ago. I remember your lizard folk one.
Yes, that was quite a bit later.
Okay, so this was before that. Oof.
This was before Kuro even.
Oh goodness. Oh wow. Okay, so basically you just don't delete your characters.
No. I still have my first ever character, Cadus Fellwind. Yep.
That's so cool. Wow. So when you do just make a character to play, like, or just you're bored and you create a character, do you keep that one or do you usually delete it? Do you only keep like really good ideas?
I've only ever deleted characters that are just blank.
Oh, okay.
That I've never done anything with. That I've made one thinking I'm going to do this thing and then never actually go and make it, and so I just delete it. So any character I've ever actually made and built out has never been deleted.
Dip made fun of me. Our dungeon master made fun of me for having like 37 characters. He was like, "Dude, why do you have so many characters?" And I was like,
"Yeah, he has like 2 that he's ever made."
So I was like, because this is what D&D players do. I guess he's the dungeon master.
Right.
So, forever DM type of thing. But I feel like because I'm always DMing, I usually have characters that I wish I could play one day.
Yeah. Well, a lot of mine kind of stem from like, ooh, what if I had this? What if I did this? That sounds like a cool idea. And then I'll like make a character. And then, like a bunch of these characters are either unnamed or their names are like the name of the build, not necessarily the character's name themselves. There are a couple copies in here, because what I will do if I'm trying to decide if I like want a character to go this way or that way, with subclasses or something, I'll make a copy of them and build them out separately and kind of see how I like how it feels. And then the copies end up not really getting deleted. Yeah.
No, that's good, because I do that too. I've done that actually a couple times with Dara, because there's different ideas and there's different feats you may want to take, and it's like, well, what if I take this one? But I typically usually delete the copy. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think I think one of the ones in here that we've never gotten around to trying to play it. One of the ones that I still really want to play at some point is I have Kobe Shadebinder in here. Callback.
Kobe Shadebinder. Oh yes.
What a
Episode
name that
2.
was.
That was great. You know what? One of these days I think it'd be fun to go back and revisit Kobe Shadebinder.
Yeah. One of the ones I really want to play in here that I haven't really gotten to play much is Kraith. He's a half orc fighter at level 2, and then he was gonna go paladin and maybe even a little bit of barbarian or something. He was meant to be like a long pike tank, like as tank as you can get in D&D. Is gonna be really fun. But
that's really cool. One day
he was one of the characters I was thinking of playing for your city campaign, I think, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. And then you went with Korokot. Fun fact, Kurtis names all of his characters with K.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned that once or twice.
Yeah, I think we may have.
I think when we did our playthrough, I was like, I'm just going to hit randomize till he has a K first name.
Nice. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, that's so good. Well, I was just curious because we tend to just make characters. I love making characters.
It's fun.
And it really is just a great brainstorming thing. I just love being creative with it.
And yeah, I will say we also have probably a very different thought of like, oh, I should go make that character real quick. Because for you, it's probably like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a character who had this story?
Yeah, it really is.
How would I make that into a class? And then you decide what class things you're going to make, and then you do this.
Yep. Nope, that's very much it.
And for me, it's like, what if you put a barbarian and like a monk, but you took this subclass and then, I need to do that.
I need to do this real quick. Where are the numbers?
Yeah.
I love it. I really do. Sarah and I do this all the time where she will she's a huge reader, very avid reader. She reads 500-page books in 2 days. It is insane. But she usually she'll just tell me about a character idea, and we'll be like, ooh, that'd be cool. That's a really cool twist on this idea. What if we were to tell this story with it? Like, what class do you think that would be? And it's like, we kind of go back and forth with this idea, and it's really fun. But
it makes me think almost of like what I thought you were going to say actually was like, getting a book character and going, what D&D class would they be?
we have done that before.
I'm sure you have. Too. Yeah, makes sense.
We do the same thing with characters in TV shows. The latest one we watched was Andor, and we were like, I wonder what class Andor would be. Like, he's rogue. He's like a high wisdom rogue because he notices a lot of stuff and he seems to have a lot of expertise in these areas. but he's not necessarily a jack of all trades. He's not good at necessarily everything. He's really good at these couple things like that.
Here's actually a really fun game that I want us to play right now. Very quick, want us to play right now, but also people at home, you should play in the comments. What D&D class is a Jedi?
Oh, wow.
Just if you grabbed a Jedi, what D&D class would you make to play a Jedi?
Right off the bat, I think for me,
one class, no multi-classing.
Yeah, for me it would be Ranger, or like a Arcane Knight.
Really? That is not at all the direction I go. I'm like,
interesting.
It's either Paladin or Monk, one of those two.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I could see that. Monk is definitely a very good one, but I was thinking a little bit more magic-y.
Yeah, Paladin makes a little more sense because you get the spells, like, be a little more magic-y, but Monk for sure is like a Kinsei monk who is like all about their weapons and stuff. To me, is that for sure sounds a lot like a warrior Jedi, or a guardian Jedi, sorry, and then what's the one that shoots the laser beams out of their fist? That can be more like a consular,
like astral something. No, they send out the
astral
arms,
self
maybe.
is the arms. Anyway,
yeah,
Monk is probably what I would say.
Even like way of the open hand, you're like pushing people back and forth with your key. So I could totally see that. The reason why I went Ranger was because it's like they're like a fighter, but they're like in tune with things around them.
Yeah.
And so they have like a
very interesting.
Like, I don't know. I think it depends on the type of Jedi obviously you're going with. But I like if you're just doing basic, I think Monk makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought Ranger for a second, but now that you mention it, it makes a little bit of sense. Yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting because this is the tricky thing, because I've actually heard it said many times that people believe paladins should get their oath at first level. It's weird that it comes online at third level. So my idea was
absolutely.
I think I agree with that. But I was also thinking like Ranger, it kind of makes sense because it's like you're training, and then suddenly at third level you get access to magic. So it's like you have to. Like that's why I think actually Paladin was a great choice too, because you like have to train, and then when you're ready you get access to this thing.
I think those thoughts kind of come from a time when, the idea was pretty much until third level you're kind of a nobody. Yeah. You're still learning your craft. You're not an experienced ranger at first level. Is kind of the mindset behind that. I think it's like it takes a while for you to really get the hang of this natural magic and feeling the weave around you and nature and stuff. So it takes a while for you to get to that third level, and because you're not as naturally in tune with it as, like, say, a druid, right? It's a learned thing. Druids are naturally in tune. Rangers are. They learn to become in tune with.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a great question.
But then you're a wizard, and it's like, at first level, I already know magic. So yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah,
great. I agree with the oath coming at first level. You should at least know what oath you're gonna take by first level, so you can start role playing into it.
I think that's a great thing, because I feel like if I were to quote unquote do that, I would still probably keep it where you can't necessarily get the benefits of the oath till third level, because
but you're
it's like
still subscribing to the. You still have to ascribe to the tenets of the oath.
Correct. Then. And I think you can totally do that in role play. You can have that, like, I know I'm going to take devotion at third level, I'm role playing into that now, but.
Well, because that's basically, so if you think of like Templars from Dragon Age. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the same thing, right? You could think of like levels 1 and 2 as being like your years of training before you actually get your like phylactery.
Getting your proficiency.
Yeah. So you're still learning everything before you're actually designated and in tune completely with your whatever you're taking on. You're still practicing those oaths, but you haven't taken the oath yet.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I guess I think a lot of people, probably the reason why they wish it was at first level, because it's like, I'm out here in the middle of a dungeon. If you guys excuse me, the DM just said we level up, so I'm going to go take an oath real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to go take an oath before my god. Or before my ancestors.
It could be fun role play where it's like, this in the deepest, darkest dungeon is when I took my oath and got granted that.
And that's also the problem with XP leveling, right? It's like a lot of role play actually can go into, or should go into, your leveling up process, because it's very weird for you to suddenly go, oh, now that I've killed that goblin, suddenly I know how to cast spells. It's like, that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Okay.
So that's why it's a little more like, okay, you've come back from that adventure. There's a little bit of downtime. In that downtime, you level up, and this is what happens when you level up.
I think I'm all for stuff like that, especially as when a significant level up is going to happen, right? Like that third level, I think, is significant, where you're going to say, yeah, this is going to happen outside of the dungeon. Fifth level can typically be a pretty big one. Eighth level, especially when you get those proficiency upgrades, like that fifth and eighth.
Those big changes. When you learn like really big new spells or new skills and stuff.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. The way I tend to think about it, especially with stuff like monk and stuff, it's like, you already know these things and you're practicing them, but you're not ready to actually put them into use until you've hit this landmark. And then it's like, okay, I've practiced this enough. I've got it down. Now I can use it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think that should all be part of your role play. I love the thing of practicing feats before you take them. I think that one of my favorite things was in the game that you just played. Before I took Sentinel, we were in the Thieves Guild, and we had significant time with the Thieves Guild. We had like a few days, if I remember, because we were running around running around taking out certain pockets of these things and helping the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, they were helping us take out bits of this organization that we knew were connected to a friend's death.
Yeah, and then those downtime moments where we weren't out there doing stuff, we came back to the home base of the Thieves Guild when I was training. And so there was a...
You even went on an excursion with them, yeah.
Yeah, and then when we took that next level, I took Sentinel, and it felt really cool because Sentinel's all about getting an attack of opportunity, even if the person takes a disengage action, and it makes their speed 0. And I thought that was really cool because who I was training with was basically a bunch of rogues, who's probably doing that a lot. So I learned how to maybe anticipate that. So I don't know, just a little fun little quick tip. I just thought it makes it more also enjoyable to take that feat, and when it makes sense to the character.
Yeah, I think a class that's really fun to do that with is Wizard. It's really fun to get into the role play of Wizard as to like, okay, these are the spells I'm taking this level, and this is why, and this is how I've been studying them. Like, think about you don't have to say those things to anyone, not even your DM necessarily, but just think about it.
Yeah.
Think about why you're picking those spells, and think about how up until this point you've been studying those things and understanding how they work and stuff like that. Because for me, it's very fun to be like, okay, well, this level I think I'm going to take Fireball, of course, but it's not just because it's Fireball. It's because, through my magic usage, I've become very in tune with fire. I'm an evocation wizard. Fireball's very useful to me. I've also learned to weave it around my friends by this point, and that type of thing is very useful in battle. So it was just the natural next step, and it can get even more fun as you get to higher level spells, which start to get kind of narrower and narrower in their like use cases, you know.
Well, that's even fun, definitely with wizards, but that's something I'm even doing with my bard. We're experiencing a lot of fae, and so there's a lot of like these little fae creatures that are turning invisible. So that's something that I took at when I got access to level 2 spells as my character. I took the invisibility spell because he's seeing all these creatures who are fae, so they're probably not casting it in necessarily a way of arcane. They're probably maybe a little bit more of a sorcerer, maybe even a bard type of way, because fae. And so that was the reason why I took that spell, was because I see all these creatures doing that. And I think it's fun to just be even mindful of what you're paying attention to, because there's could be even a moment where you go up against another spellcaster and you see them cast a spell and you're like, oh, maybe he took it because he saw that person cast it and was trying to mimic it, and so in his off time he's trying to remember how that person did that spell.
So I know almost nothing about bards because it's my least favorite class.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Is it not like cleric where you have a prepared list that you take from, or do you just...
Oh no, they are like sorcerers.
They're like sorcerers. Okay. That makes sense.
Right now I'm experiencing it because I think we're so low level, and I'm, we'll see as we get higher, but right now I'm a little bit like a little bit lackluster in how many spells I get. I know the bards I have played is College of Lore bards who get access to magical secrets at an earlier level. For those of you that don't know, magical secrets is basically at certain levels a bard. It typically comes on at level 10, but except for the College of Lore, who gets access, I believe, at level 6. And you can pick 3 spells from any spell list.
Yeah.
Which is great, but you don't get that on a normal bard until level 10. So that's something I'm kind of running into where I feel like I'm not getting access to a lot. And I get it. I'm only level 4, I believe.
And that's one of the main reasons I way prefer wizards to sorcerers is I feel like sorcerers choice and eventual full like list of spells is so restricted.
It really is.
They get a lot more deviation in how they can use those spells with their meta magic and stuff, but how many spells that, like, nothing beats wizard with what spells you can get and how many you can get, and just nothing beats wizard.
I mean, other than maybe cleric, the fact that the clerics can get access to everything.
The full cleric list is more restricted than the full wizard list. That's
true. Wizards get a lot of spells, and that is something I'm missing. Having played a wizard in your campaign where we made it to level 10, it's like, dude, you get so many spells, 2 every level up, and then you get to keep the spells so you can interchange them. Yeah. Whereas Bard and Sorcerer, you only get 1 per level up, and then you can replace a spell, so you can get rid of a spell and take a new one if you want
to. Okay. So it's kind of like Warlock in that way. Oh, I guess Sorcerer does that too, huh? It does.
Yep, Sorcerers would do that too. Yeah. I think there's a variant rule where, like, maybe I'm thinking of something else. I think I was thinking
switching out cantrips.
Yeah, something like that.
That's
like
a sorcerer thing. It's every ASI or something. I think it's every ASI.
Okay, yeah, something like that. I think there's a bard thing where that comes up. I don't quote me there. So we'll see.
I played a sorcerer, mainly sorcerer, for the first time in a one shot that our friend Kenny ran a little while back. I don't know if he talked to you at all about that.
He mentioned it to me briefly, yes.
And we're gonna continue that later, so we'll talk about that once we get to play the second half.
That's so cool.
But yeah, I played a rogue warlock, or sorry, not rogue, a sorcerer warlock. Only 2 levels of warlock. And we played at 7th level.
Ooh.
And it was very fun because I had never really played sorcerer at all. I've built with sorcerer a couple times just to test it out, but I've never actually really played a sorcerer.
What sorcerer did you go?
it was a lot of fun. So I built a burst healer, a Nova healer. And I went Sorcerer Warlock to play a healer, which sounds weird. So I went Divine Soul Sorcerer. I played an Azamar. And
that's so cool.
It was very, very fun. Because if I wanted to, I could sit there and throw out 4 Eldritch Blasts at level 7 if I wanted to, using meta magic. Or I could do, feasibly upwards of 30 to 40 points of healing in one turn if I wanted to. Very fun.
I was actually when just creating Dara, we were exploring other options because I know I went Bard, but very possible could have gone Warlock, and we were exploring different Warlocks. The Warlock the Divine Warlock is really good.
Celestial
the Celestial one. Yeah, that one's really good.
It is. And I ended up going Hexblade.
Okay.
Mostly because I don't take very many levels of Warlock. I only took 2 levels. And Hexblade gave me like medium armor and stuff, so it's kind of hard to beat those bonuses. Really it's hard to beat those bonuses. Especially Hexblade's Curse is also very useful.
Yeah, and it makes Booming Blade that much better.
That was another thing. Yeah, using Booming Blade was very good. Yeah, so it was just really fun because it was a super versatile character. It's like I could do a ton of damage from really far away because Eldritch Blast is 120 feet.
Yep.
I could do a ton of damage from right next to you because I've got Hexblade and whatever it's called, like Booming Blade, like you just said.
Yep.
Or I could heal my teammate from halfway across the battlefield for 40 points of damage using spells and stuff, so it's a very versatile character. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Well, we might have to explore that one shot in another episode. That would be cool.
Because it's technically a 2-shot, so once we finish the second half, I'll definitely talk about it. It'll be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Kenny actually called me and was going brainstorming ideas, actually, when you were here, actually, for the Renaissance Fair.
Mm-hmm. That's right. He called you while you were there, yeah.
So I think he was brainstorming ideas. I think it's that one. Did it have to do with you guys went to like a different realm and like Shadowfell-y?
Yep.
Feywildy? Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a later episode. But let's get to what everyone came here for, Kurtis, and that is hearing about your...
Segue.
What's that?
Segue.
Yeah. Let's get to the meat of the episode. That's what I like to say. We call this the meat of the episode time, where we get to hear about Kurtis's venture that's been happening in the world of Pathfinder, in the city of... Oh, goodness.
Starts with a K.
Caldova comes to mind.
I
don't think that... Cordova?
Corv.
I
Corvosa. God.
Corvosa. I was close. Okay.
Corvosa.
Corvosa. So let me try that again. In the city of... I forgot it already. Corvosa.
Corvosa.
So if I recall, last we left off, you guys had all met for the first time because you hated this jerk who was running like this underground...
Gadrin.
Gadrin, yes. And he was a very bad person. And someone was a patron of sorts, was getting you all together to basically go take this guy out. And before we get into the story, I think something I'm noticing as I'm editing these, I think what we should lay out, and I'll probably do this next time we talk about, let's lay out who the players are. So that way we can just straight up just get that. So now, and if we have that all straightened out, and now we can push forward whenever it comes up. We're not just, oh yeah, this other person that's in it. It's kind of like, oh, Okay, like you guys haven't talked about them for 4 sessions.
So I am playing Callan Kestrel. Our friend Katie is playing Callan's sister, whose name is Kitty. So it's Callan and Kitty Kestrel. So Katie's playing Kitty. It's very easy to remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great.
And then, so our friend Josh is playing and Kitty is also is a mainly wizard. No multi-class.
Multi-class, okay.
We are level 2 now, so I guess there is a subclass.
Okay.
we have our friend Josh who's playing a gnome bard, whose name is Squish.
Oh, God.
We have...
His name is Squish?
Squish. Well, that's his stage name. We don't know his real name yet. We have our friend Scott, who is playing a barbarian fighter, I think, at this point, whose name is Tombstone.
I'll probably get their permission to make sure, and I'll probably put up their character art.
That'd be great.
So, because we have access to all that, so I'll probably do that. So as Kurtis explains, popping up character art. For those of you that are listening, go over to the YouTube channel and find that that time stamp. And okay. Anyway, yeah. So five player. Oh, one more, I believe.
Yes, Joel is playing. Sorry, I forgot who I had mentioned already. Joel is playing a knowledge cleric named Elora.
Yes. So that's a total of 5 players.
Cleric.
Yeah,
or half elf. Sorry, she's half elf.
Oh yeah, she is.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
We didn't know until like the 3rd session, but she's half elf.
Nice. Yeah. So 5 players are venturing forth. So now that we have that kind of taken care of, I was kind of like, maybe that'll make things a little bit more clear as we go forth. So that way we're not just throwing out names and they're like, oh, I guess that person's part of this party. And then when we get to mine, I'll state who's in our party. But anyway, yes, last we left off, you guys had all gotten together, and you guys went straight to a market, to a fish market, and you started a fight.
So not a fish market. It was like a straight up. It was basically a warehouse on the dock that is a fishery, where they take in fish and they gut it and they repurpose it and sell it as whatever else.
Yeah, get that fish oil. It's really good for you.
We had gotten in a fight inside. I think I talked about that. I think I talked about all the way up until we got out of the main building, and we were about to talk about spiders. Is that right?
I believe so, because people possibly could have started dying.
Yeah. So we got out of the main building and kind of snuck into the back, where there was a ship at the dock there at the fishery. We made our way onto this ship because it was the only place left to look for this Gadrin guy. We still hadn't found him yet. And we got onto the ship, and turns out it was old and decrepit and full of spiders, but not your typical spiders. Instead, these were basically cat and or dog-sized, medium dog-sized spiders that have paralyzing venom.
Very dangerous, especially at level 1, which you guys all were at this point. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, that's almost more terrifying than a giant spider.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if I were to see a cat-sized spider crawling up to me, that would be freaky. Like, there's something about, like, giant, like Shelob from Lord of the Rings size spiders that are just like, that's
spider
spooky.
That's like bigger than you, that's a little less spooky, because that's like, okay, well, you're big, I guess. But small spiders, it's like, not small, but like this size spider.
Right.
Like if a spider was this big, it can still crawl on you.
Right.
Which is the scariest thing about spiders. Spiders being on you and crawling around you is the scariest thing about spiders, right? Those 8 legs going blah, 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 all over you. So when one is that big, it can still leap on you and like skitter around your body and
I still don't know. You know, I'm kind of one of those people that I'm not really a huge fan of.
At that point, you're like perfect prey size for them. Because to a normal spider, it's like, okay, well, there's this bug that's a little bit bigger than the spider that gets caught in its web, right? But if the spider's dog-sized, you are the perfect prey size for that spider.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're not a grain of rice. You're not a grain of rice to the giant spider. You're perfect. That's web size of being totally caught.
You're not an ant in its web. You are, oh, great, this is a good meal for us today.
Yeah.
That's what you are to that spider.
And then on top of that, it's not just one, it was a swarm of them, correct?
It was like, it was 4 or 5. I don't remember exactly. It was 4 or 5 of these.
Gotcha. Now, spiders. I'm not, maybe it wouldn't be quite as scary if I could shoot fire from my hands, but still, that is pretty spooky.
One attacked us right away as we got onto the ship, and we took care of it pretty quickly, but it did take down Elora, our cleric, run by Joelle, and she got taken out and saved from the poison, so she wasn't at disadvantage or anything, but she dropped to 0 hit points, which meant the paralyzation took effect. So she was so the way most giant spiders work in D&D is they have a natural effect where if their bite drops a character to 0 hit points, the character is not making death saves. They are stabilized but paralyzed for a certain amount of time. That's the way most spiders work, and the idea behind that is like, okay, well, when a spider bites its prey, it's not trying to just outright kill it and destroy it. It's trying to paralyze it and save it for later. So it doesn't just kill you.
Eat the fresh.
Yeah.
Meat's back on our menu, boys.
Yeah, meat's back on our menu, boys. So the spider paralyzes our cleric, and we're like, well, nothing we can do for her. We didn't have any potions, and she, our bard, had kind of already used his spells, I think. So we didn't have anything to do but wait for the paralyzation to wear off.
Ooh, okay.
And so we were like, okay, well, while we wait for that, let's kind of explore the bottom half of this boat. Actually, that's not what happened. What actually happened was we explored the top part of the boat, and as we were walking around the top part of the boat, some of the wood broke out from under us, so we fell into the bottom part of the boat, where suddenly we were swarmed by like 4 more spiders and had to fight them without our cleric.
No.
So one by one, we kept getting taken out and paralyzed, right?
Okay.
Until I was the only one left standing, not paralyzed. I managed with my telekinesis to move most of we noticed that the spiders weren't going up the stairs. They didn't want to go out of their nest. They weren't going back up to the top. I managed to move most of my friends up the stairs with my telekinetic feet, up the stairs so that they weren't in immediate danger. But as I was doing this, I also got hit to 0 hit points and went down right at the top of the stairs.
Wow, that was actually kind of clutch, though, to be using it to push your allies away. That's pretty clever.
So I was moving their bodies as they were all paralyzed and unconscious, all kind of like pushing them around and moving them up and pulling some of them away. So what then happened was Dips rolled the dice and said, okay, we're going to have a time skip really quickly. And suddenly, Elora loses her paralyzation and she stands up. She doesn't know what's happened. She couldn't see anything because she was paralyzed, down face up like this. She couldn't tell what happened. She heard things happen.
Okay.
But then she kind of walks into the ship and walks into a ship full of us, all paralyzed on the floor. God. What she ended up having to do was killing the last spider that was up while she had like 10 or less hit points.
Dude.
So she killed the last spider and then waited for all of us to get up. We all got up, kind of healed up and stuff, and we were okay.
Oh, man.
I think we took a short rest.
Can you imagine if she didn't kill the spider?
If she didn't kill the spider got taken down instead, I think what Dip would have decided was we all basically get eaten at that point.
Yeah. I mean, and then you can all...
And literally the only thing that saved us was she was all the way up top where they weren't going to go. She was paralyzed up there where they weren't going to go.
Gotcha.
So...
And, you know... This may be a fun question to ask Dip, because I'm really curious, because I personally don't know what I would do in this. Like, if I sat down and I was like, we did all this work to prep these characters, and then we're going on this probably 2-year campaign, and they all die in the first session. I don't know what I would do as a dungeon master. Do I restart, or do...
I think all I would do is go, okay, let's take 2 weeks. Next week, we're going to do another session 0 with new characters. They're all also going to have reasons to hate Gadrin. And then this benefactor is going to find those 5 people and go, okay, well, the last group didn't work out. Now you are going to go get him. And then when those people go get him, they're going to find a boat full of desiccated corpses with good gear. Like
I feel like that makes sense. That makes sense. I would do. Yeah, I really don't know what I would do. Just because, and I think it depends. Personally, I'd probably just ask all of the players, and just be like, "Do you guys want to start, or would you just want to?" Because it's session 1. If it was a few sessions down,
exactly,
I think that's what I would do. But session 1,
technically, at this point, it was session 2, I think. No, that's no. Oh man, now I can't remember. I think session 1 finished after the spiders.
That sounds familiar, because I do remember Joelle texting Sarah and being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, and then we took our short rest. Okay, so to keep us getting caught up, we took our short rest, left the boat through like a secret hatch that was on the side that took us under the fishery.
Okay.
Through this like secret dock passageway. So we were all on short rest at this point. So no leveled spells left for any of our casters. Most of our long rest stuff was gone, and I don't think any of us were at full hit points at this point. So we left the boat, went under the fishery, went to this kind of warehouse looking room that had a big open pit into the water in the middle of it. And in there, to all of our players' surprise, but characters' hopes, was Gadrin. Just there.
Right there.
Just in there. The guy we're actually looking for. As a player, I really thought that we were not going to find this guy until like the end of chapter 1 of this book.
Okay. No, I kind of thought so too, from hearing the bits and pieces from you guys.
Which is usually a few sessions in.
Yeah.
But no, right away in session 2 we find him. We have a fight with him, and his kind of pet, not really pet, more just leashed wild animal, Gobblegut. His name is Gobblegut.
Gobblegut.
He was a crocodile.
Ah. Oh no. Gobblegut's a great name for a wild alligator.
Great name for an alligator. So that big pit that was open into the water in the middle of the room was like Gobblegut's area.
Oh,
so
cool.
if you get too close to the sides, he can attack you. But it doesn't take too long, except Alora goes down in the fight.
Okay.
But it was basically just us and Gadrin as long as we stayed away from the pit. And
now, was he a spellcaster, or was he like a fighter of
sorts? He was more like a rogue. He had,
interesting.
I think he had a hand crossbow that he was using, and I think he was doing sneak attack if I remember right. Or maybe he was doing poison damage. One of the two. But his arrows hurt. If they hit you, it was bad. Yes, exactly. So at the start of the fight, he basically insulted each and every one of us because we all have reasons to hate him, and he remembered all of us.
And you recognized all of you?
He recognized all of us. And Alora seemingly had the closest relationship with him based on the way this fight kind of went. She seemingly had the closest relationship, spent the most amount of actual time with the man. My character never even had seen him at that point, but had a lot of reasons to hate him because of knowing what he had done and the way what he had done had affected me personally. Same with my sister Kitty, I believe. Same with her. I don't know for sure, but I believe it's the same with her. It was all like, this character has done a lot of things that have second-handedly affected us terribly.
Gotcha.
Because of the effect that they've had on the city. It seemed like Alora and Squish had much more personal ties to the man.
Ooh, Squish did too.
Squish
our board over here.
Squish seemed to have seen him before, at least, and maybe dealt with him before, but I'm not 100% sure there. Our barbarian Tombstone seemed to have almost no idea who the guy was, but it was the reason he was here was more of like a more diplomatic.
Yeah.
Because his people are called the Shuanti. They're almost like a native tribe, almost like Native Americans in America. They're like a native tribe who have a very tenuous relationship with the people of Korvosa. And it seems almost more like he's here diplomatically, and so his goal here was to just bring in a guy who is bad for the city so that it helps the Shuanti have a better face, essentially.
Gotcha.
In helping this.
That makes sense.
His goal, I think at this point, my character believes his goal is to create a face that the people of Korvosa can look up to that is Shuanti. Because right now they see all Shuanti as basically scum and weirdos and
second-class citizens type of thing. Gotcha. Okay.
So we fight this guy, and the way the fight goes out, we essentially he takes out Alora first because they seemed to have had the most personal relationship, and she got pretty upfront with him. She tried to get a little too close because she was like really hacking at him, and he took her out right away. But Tombstone gave him a good knock to the head, and then Cal managed to shove him into the water with Gobblegut.
Oh, nice.
And now Gobblegut is not a pet. He is a wild animal that he just keeps there by offering food and stuff. So as soon as he's in the water, Gobblegut doesn't know the difference and just annihilates him. And we found out that basically a form of torture he would do. So this Gadrin guy, let me explain a little bit about him. He's basically a crime boss. He's a crime boss with fingers in just about everything in the city, a lot of drug use and stuff like that. But also, he has these people called Gadrin's Lambs, because his name is Gadrin Lamb. So Gadrin's Lambs, as in Lambs, are children that are orphans and stuff like that Gadrin basically takes in under the guise of giving them work and stuff, but eventually just creates this child labor workforce that he just treats terribly. And so what he would do is if a child had given him disappointment one too many times, he would bring them down into this den, hang them above the water, and ask them trivia questions.
Oh my God.
That have no right answer. And every time they get an answer wrong, he would lower them down another foot, and then another foot, and then until they were in the water, and Gobblegut would get them.
Oh my gosh.
That was how he would show his, like, you do bad by me, this is what you get.
Oh no.
So we all thought it was a very fitting end that he got fed to Gobblegut himself.
That is wonderful. I think that's a wonderful way to finish off a horrible person.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh.
To move on to the big reveal Okay. Remember last time
Yes.
I talked about this benefactor that had brought us all together? Was this Varisian lady, which they're a lot like the, they do like tarot card readings, and they're very spiritual and stuff like that, Varisians.
Mm-hmm.
Nomadic people, naturally.
Yes.
She brought us all together. We get through this whole thing. We take out Gadrin. We're exploring his personal quarters, and we find a lot of things. First of all, we find a big chest full of his personal trophies that very interestingly has a brooch of the Queen's, the Queen of Corvosa, which is very
eyebrow
interesting.
raise. Okay.
We find that brooch. We also find a hat box with flies buzzing around it.
Oh, no.
To which, at this point, I very rightly posted in our chat a GIF of from the movie. Oh, what's that movie? Is it Numbers or
Seven?
whatever? Seven.
I think.
Of him going, "What's in the box?"
What's
because
in the
I
box?
know what's in that box. We take the box
Oh,
down
no.
and open it up, and lo and behold, it is the head of our benefactor.
Dude.
But
So, okay, wait, hold on. So, did she die before you could... Well, the flies were there.
So it was much older and more desiccated than being dead for a few days, possibly weeks. And we had just gotten this job from her in person hours ago.
So, she was a ghost?
So we look at this box and we're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What is going on here? We take the box. The box also had a little box inside of it that had her Hero card deck, which is what she used to give us the reading last time. Looked exactly the same, had all the markings on it and everything. So we were like, okay, so that wasn't even real. So we take that. We take our treasures. We take our stuff. I'll get to that in a second. On our way out, Kit, who is Kitty, finds a little box over on a table full of these little vials that have this semi-clear kind of cloudy fluid in them.
Okay.
And she starts pouring them out into the water. None of the other characters are allowed to know what this is all about, but her and Cal had a very big argument about this as she was pouring them out, and she stood her ground and didn't allow him to do anything with these vials.
Okay.
But they had a very large argument about it. Nobody knows what the vials are.
Okay, so are you keeping this a secret?
I'm keeping this a secret. I just want to mention it because it's kind of important for later, and I'm sure it'll get revealed eventually.
I have an idea.
So she empties these out into the water, and they're like fighting the whole time about it. So we leave with the box, with the head in it, with all of our treasures, with everything, with Gadrin being eviscerated. He's a
mess.
A puddle of blood and flesh in the wash.
Yeah. Leave him there.
So we leave with the Queen's brooch and all of the other things. We get back to the house that we all met in that belongs to our benefactor. We walk into this house, and it looks decrepit, like it's been looted, like it's just hasn't been lived in weeks.
Oh, dude.
And we step in, and we notice, looking on the ground, that there's a layer of dust on everything. But we can see our footprints from earlier that same day in the dust.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we step in, we go in, we reset up the table, we take a sit, and we all kind of chill out. And the ghost... because at this point she appears to us as a semi-spectral form.
Okay.
Of our benefactor appears to us.
Dude.
Thanks us and explains that what actually happened was she tried to do what we did first, alone.
Okay.
And was killed. And so instead what she decided to do after was she was still held to this plane, got us all together by sticking these cards in all of our personal belongings to get us to come here and actually take care of Gadrin. And now she can rest, and then she dissipates.
Dude, that is so good.
That closes that little
so
thing.
Good.
Very cool. So we bury her head in the backyard, all that stuff. That closes that little loop. While we're leaving the fishery, the next bit of the story kind of comes in. As we're leaving, the streets are literally in chaos. There is rioting in the streets.
Oh, dear. Okay.
And we find out as we're traveling through like back streets and stuff that the king has succumbed to his sickness. He has died. And the queen of Korvosa has taken his throne. And the city hates this queen. Because she's not from here, one.
Right.
She's a quarter of the king's age, two. And she has continuously spoken about how she does not like Korvosa. So she's from Cheliax, which is a different country, which Cheliax people first came down and settled Korvosa.
Okay.
But now it's a little more of a melting pot. There's Varisians, there's Chelish people, there's all this different stuff. But she's like Cheliax royalty that came down and became the queen to the king here. And she sees Korvosa as kind of like a dark mirror of Cheliax. Like it's awful, it's poor, it's terrible, that doesn't have all the actual nice things that Cheliax has. But now suddenly she's queen, and so a bunch of the city has basically declared foul play, that she killed the king in order to take the throne. So the city's rioting. So that's where our story's going to take us in the future. And we're already a couple sessions into some of that stuff there, but we'll have to get to that next time because we're nearing our end here. But it starts getting really interesting. Our first line of business after that was we rested in our benefactor's old home. Next day, we all made our ways back to our own homes because, again, it's a city campaign. We all live here. So we all go to our own homes, rest for a full day, get our wits about us, and then we all meet at a singular place the day after that. Decide that we're a group now. This is what we're going to do. We've got this brooch that belongs to the queen. The city's crazy right now. Let's bring this to the palace, see what we can do, and see if they can see if we can be of use in any way, essentially. See if we can make some money to some of us, make some money to others of us, gather friends and resources to others, just be of help.
Offer your services, to say.
So as a group, we decide we're going to bring this brooch to the temple or to the castle. And we'll pick up there next time.
Dude, that's so cool. And
really
honestly,
cool
I'm just
opening.
Like that cool little twists and turns. I love that.
Yes.
And then with like a little thread on how to continue. I almost feel like that would be a great little section to introduce someone to like role playing, because I feel like that would be very simple because you're all getting together for a cause. That's not just you all meet in a tavern.
And it also gives you immediately a reason to be invested because your character has had so much happen to them because of this human being. And now you're going after them and you meet them like within 1 or 2 sessions. And it's like, what do you do when you meet them? Like, what does that bring out in you? It's a really good opportunity for some role play to happen.
I almost feel like, and especially when you're going into that and you're like thinking like, okay, that'll probably be the level 3, level 4, possibly level 5 when
that's
you take him out.
Exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking like we'd hit level 3 before we even met him.
Yeah. And so that's kind of cool. That's almost nice and tight. And then it has that little thread so you can be like, okay, what are you guys going to do from here?
In our last game, which you were there for, this whole bit was basically just the goblin attack.
Right.
On Sandpoint, right? So in our last game, we were all random people just in this town for a festival. goblins attack during the festival. We all come together to fight off the goblins, and then suddenly we're all tasked with this next thing, right? It's that. But the motivation was so much heavier and more involving. It was very interesting because all of us had to have a tie-in and a reason that we were going after Gadrin. So we all didn't like him for various reasons. Some very personal, some just because he's a bad guy and we need to get rid of him. Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's great, and it also kind of connects you guys a little bit more too.
Yeah, we all have a shared trauma almost. Yeah.
Right. It's you know, when you're in this place of you're all adventurers. I have a sword. You have a sword. We both do this, and we just fought some goblins together, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can go on this, go on this next trail. But this one is kind of like, hey, we got together. We have this, like you said, past trauma that we may have shared, but we also succeeded. Like we took out the guy, and we got our revenge that we needed. And that's almost kind of like now you can almost kind of use that for roleplay. Do you cope with that? You got your revenge. How does that go?
I was going to say, you could play that kind of two ways, right? You could say, great, I got my revenge. I'm ready to move on. Or you can say, that didn't fill that hole.
Mm-hmm. What was it really him, or is there something else too?
Yeah, I don't feel any better. It didn't help anything. I'm glad knowing he's gone, but now what do I do?
Yeah.
And that can lead you to trying to do more good things, more and more and more. Or it can lead you down a path of, all right, we're all together now. What's the next thing I can kill? Because I just need more of that satisfaction. Yeah.
Anger leads to hate, It's kind of like you had this anger.
Hate leads to suffering.
Yeah. So it's...
And suffering is the path to the dark side.
Then back to the dark side. So is your character going to go that way in session 3, or we'll see. I love to hear about what's this argument that goes on between siblings over vials being poured.
We're a few sessions past this, and I had hoped to talk about it today, but my character continuously causes problems for our group to solve. So we'll get to that next time. Needless to suffice it to say, what starts as meeting a crazy man in the street ends as running away from the scene of a crime. So we'll get there next time.
Oh, that grin of satisfaction as Kurtis says that might be the thumbnail picture that I put you on. That's great. Oh, thank you so much, Kurtis, for telling me the story. I thank you guys. If you got this far and are listening, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope we're entertaining. I was entertained. Thank you, Kurtis.
Of course. My pleasure. It's what I live to do.
Oh, man. Well, tune in next time to hear what we talk about then. I'm Jake. This is Backyard Tabletop.
I'm Kurtis, and I play a character who's a nuisance. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's not Dungeons and Dragons until you're a nuisance.
Goodbye, everybody.
As long as it's okay with your table.
Well...